I've had a successful print of the cab and the new saddle tank. Saddle tank, as you can see, has a much smaller filler, which is right for the production tattoos. Other than that, it's the same, rolled from 2 sheets of steel and with a recessed end plate. You might just be able to see the fact it's recessed there, but that's gone all right and is nice and clean. The cab itself, with the right supports, that's gone fine. The roof was the vulnerable thing, particularly this back end. Now this back end is only about 0.25 thick. It's a very, very thin skin of print, basically because it's visible. The framework is, sorry, you can't see it very well. The framework is slightly inset, which is why I wanted it as thin as possible. All the sheet work is really quite thin. I can't remember off the top of my head how thick I made it. I think it's about 0.5, something like that. So you can shine light through it. You can see the back head's waiting to be done. It's not there yet. But the details come out all right. There were a couple of, or one layer line running across diagonally. That scraped off very cleanly indeed, so that wasn't a problem. The details come out all right. The step, don't know if we can see the steps. Whoops, daisy, that's not all that apart. The step. Let's zoom in. That's a very fine print. It's about 0.3 thick, that, but that's all come out all right, and that's as per prototype. Sorry, I can't hold it steady at that zoom. That's 8 times zoom, so it's come out of that. But the printing, as I say, has gone fine, and I'm very pleased with it. The smoke box, which is one of the variant, or you can see the smoke box door is sat on another profiled plate, like that, and that was an addition to the first prototype. You can see I've got hairs all over it. I've not cleaned those off. That's because I just burnished up the primer with a bit of kitchen towel, which takes the roughness off the primer, and that, that suits me quite well. So that's a prototype body for the Penryn type, and this is the low boiler. It's not sat right at the moment because none of the parts are joined together. That's the recess on the tank that you can see there, and I'll just slip a couple of bits of lead in the tank to give it a bit of weight. Can't remember whether you saw the boiler. I think you did, but the cab unit, as I say, I'm quite pleased with how that's gone. It's printed nice and cleanly. I've decided to print the radial axle box guides as a separate assembly, which I can glue in afterwards. One of the problems with 3D printing is the stuff at the bottom nearest the build plate or facing the build plate tends to suffer detail wise, and I'm going to get a better job if that's printed the other way up, kind of thing, which means detaching it from this, but that's absolutely fine. That's not a problem. So I will add the radial axle box onto that hex hole there. I shall glue a nut in there, and that gives me something to fix the chassis to, and you can see the brackets for support there. So I mean, that's been remarkably successful. I'm very pleased with that. In the cab, there's a slight recess in the spectacles, so I can machine some 1mm perspex and have it sit in there, so it's more or less flush at the back and closer to flush at the front, so it starts looking quite realistic. But I'm very pleased with that as a print. It's gone well, and I quite like this primer as well. Let me show it to you. It's this stuff. When you spray it on, you think, good heavens, that's going on a bit coarsely, but actually it dries back quite nicely, and it's supposed to be good for exceptional adhesion to mild steel, Zinc aluminium, ABS and other rigid substrates without any additional etch primer. That's what it says there. Which you know, that's encouraging. It's only about it's under £10 a count, that, so that's what that is. Now the Penryn loco I think was black. Whether this stays black or goes a nice green, I don't know. Not bothered at the moment, but I did want to see what it was like with a bit of paint on, and this is it. And as I say, very pleased, and thank heavens for the Mars 2 Pro printer. So, thank you.